Yeah, hi there. These comments are for E. I'm just using your initials for privacy purposes, and I am Michael Buckoff, the founder, owner, and the materials writer for all of your lessons at the 7-step system to pass the TOEFL IBT. So you're doing some pronunciation practice, and particularly you're focusing on what's called thought groups and blending. So you're learning how to pause after 4 or 5 stressed syllables, right? Then you have another pause after another 4 or 5 stressed syllables, and so on. And what I'm doing here is I'm going to go ahead and listen to your response right now. Okay, here we go.
Many of the sports which the ancient Greeks practiced and which made up a part of their own Olympics still survive in some way or other in the sports which we practice today.
Too many pauses in there, too many, right? So I would pause maybe after practice, say, many of the sports which the ancient Greeks practiced and which made up a part of their own Olympics still survive in some way or other in the sports which we practice today. So you're pausing a little bit too much in there. All right, okay, give me a quick second. Okay, so let me keep listening to this. Okay, hold on.
Their motivation, however, was for practice.
Don't forget that word, the H there, however. So when the H is in the beginning of the word, in most cases, you want to pronounce that. So their motivation, however,
work. And it is in such motivation that one can understand their emphasis on martial skills, such as wrestling, boxing, the javelin, and running, while still including such less directly applicable sports as discus and jumping. Over time, as interest grew in sport and competition alone.
Okay, one thing I'm going to give you advice on too, here's another tip. So after you pause, if it's not the last thought group in the sentence, your tone needs to go up a little bit, just slightly. So if I read that sentence, I might say, over time, as interest grew in sport and competition alone, new sports were added, but it was these core sports which stood the test of time and which have continued to be practiced in similar form right up to the present day. So once I get to the last idea in the thought group, that's when my tone drops.
New sports were added, but it was these core sports which stood the test.
Notice the word, it was these, not this. These core sports.
Time, and which have continued to be practiced in similar form right up to the present day.
Okay, the other idea too is within each thought group, you want to blend the words within the thought group. So if you looked at that one right up, you might say right up to the present day.
Wrestling must be regarded as the most important sport practiced in ancient Greece. The very name palestra, wrestling school, must indicate its importance in Greek life. Nor need we be surprised at this, for all over the world, in cultures far distant from each other, one can find styles of wrestling and fighting, for it is a useful skill in war.
Okay, now you have not mastered the lesson here. That what I was trying to teach you, you're not getting it yet. But you can get it. You can get this, but I just need to tell you, you need to keep practicing in this area a little bit more, right? Now let me go ahead and read it. I'm going to read it with you. So I want you to notice 2 things, maybe 3 things. Notice when I'm pausing, first of all. Then notice how I group some of those words together within the thought group, right, by using what's called blending. And also pay attention to the tone at the end of each thought group, which is slightly higher unless it's the last thought group in the sentence. So then I might say this. Many of the sports which the ancient Greeks practiced and which made up part of their own Olympics still survive in some way or other in the sports which we practice today. Their motivation, however, was for practice for war, and it is in such motivation that one can understand the emphasis on martial skills such as wrestling, boxing, the javelin, and running, while still including such less directly applicable sports such as discus and jumping. Over time, as interest grew in sport and competition alone, new sports were added. But it was these core sports which stood the test of time and which have continued to be practiced in similar form right up to the present day. Wrestling must be regarded as the most important sport practiced in ancient Greece. The very name Palestra, wrestling school, must indicate its importance in Greek life. Nor need we be surprised at this, for all over the world and cultures far distant from each other, one can find styles of wrestling and fighting, for it is a useful skill in war. There we go. So that's my model of how you could do this particular exercise. So my advice is keep practicing in this area. Number one, you want to pause after 4 or 5 stressed syllables with a slightly inflected tone at the end of each thought group except for the last. Secondly, you want to try to blend the words within each thought group to give you a little bit more natural sounding pronunciation. So those are the things you want to keep working on in order to master this area of pronunciation.